Okay, Jane, we are on. So, welcome to our little chat. So, Jayne
Thank you.
East has certified as an mBIT coach with me, multiple braining coach, and is currently on the NLP practitioner. So, Jayne, thank you for saying that you'll come on and have a little chat about your experience of the training. What I'm really interested to hear, and what I'd like to share with our listeners, is your experience of the NLP practitioner course and the mBIT course from a perspective of how it's helped you in your own personal growth and development. And then, of course, how you're going to be taking it forward, using it with others. So tell me, Jane.
That's really quite an interesting question. And actually, when I've been, well, so we have to do a lot of practice during our NLP practitioner course. And that's one of the questions that's actually come up that people have asked me how I've actually been using it in my own life. And actually, I probably haven't actually been using it subconsciously. It's been had a massive effect on my life in various ways. Probably more, I think, sort of sometime in my career, probably around my, I don't know, early 40s, just after I had my kids, I just had a massive knock to my confidence. And I just wasn't the person I was. I always thought I was pretty invincible up to then. It became to the point where I had a lot of self-doubt that was starting to come in. And probably sort of untruths that I was telling myself about my own ability.
Yeah.
And since actually taking part in the NLP practitioner, I just feel that that has come back, that I started to feel actually my old self again, and those doubts have gone. And instead of, I think one of the main reasons for that is instead of really focusing on the things that have slightly gone wrong or might not have happened quite to plan, I now look back and think, actually, do you know what? There's a lot of things that I've done really successfully and
Yeah.
actually got to in my career, and also I've achieved me whilst bringing up a young family, sort of from 40 onwards.
Mm.
So that's, I think, I've been a large part of the focus of changing it on those small negative things to thinking about all the positive things. And actually, I started using that more in my language with other people as well. So just during general conversations of people chatting with me, and they'll be talking about something, it's like, sort of talking to them about what they've achieved and, how the things that they've done. So I think we can
Yeah.
all go down that route, just really starting to focus on those small niggly things, just
Yeah.
tiny thing, and just thinking, actually, do you know what? There's a whole lot of great things that are happening, and just really changing that mindset. I think
Yeah.
that's the real magic that NLP brings. It just changes that mindset, and you start really thinking about the good things.
Yeah, I love that, Jane, because as we talk about the NLP presuppositions and those beliefs of excellence, one of them being that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And I think you're absolutely right. We can fall into the trap of focusing on all of those things that have gone wrong and using language like that, all of those things, instead of actually redirecting our attention, our thinking, and focusing on, like you've just said, all of those things that you've actually done really well, those things that you've achieved, and you've achieved those things as well as raising a family, running a very, I know you had a busy career and, a busy job. So I love that you've said that, how it's really supported you in redirecting your energy, your thinking, your focus. And I also hear a lot in your language, Jane, when you're talking about your conversations that you have with your family, with your children, with other people, that actually you're also really listening to the language that others are using and picking up and supporting them to redirect their thinking as well. So it's lovely to hear how you're using it for yourself and also helping others to, redirect where they're
Yeah.
at as well, which is fab, because that's what NLP is. It's how can we have those different perspectives? How can we shift our thinking? How can we give ourselves permission? Because I think a lot of the time it is about that as well. Give ourselves permission to think about things in a more helpful way. So you've and I know you've really focused on the language part of NLP with listening in to your own language and changing that. So it sounds like you said you've like got your confidence back and feeling good again. So how else are you using it, Jane, in your life to sort of help you, help your family, and maybe those people as well that you're having those daily interactions with? How are you supporting, that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things I think is really interesting is the whole point of with NLP is that everybody has a different map of the world and becoming. I've always been curious.
Mhm.
Actually, on my LinkedIn profile, I had for ages like the curious farmer marketeer.
I love that.
Um, but I've become even more curious about why people do what they're doing and sort of not immediately, instead of that, there's that pause now, instead of actually thinking, oh, they've done that deliberately to wind me up, or this has happened or why they're behaving like that. You know, actually, yeah, taking more time to wonder why they're behaving like that and just thinking, that's different. Why are they behaving like that? That's interesting. They responded like that. And just, and, you know, people's actions as well. I mean, you know, the story about my map behind me, where
Hello.
my husband for Christmas thought he spent ages, he was beavering away in the garage and I had no idea what he was about. And it all went back to a conversation where I'd said at one point, and I don't even remember when, that it'd be lovely to have a map and put pins in it everywhere we've been. At the same time, I was discussing sort of recreating my office and making it a really nice space. Now I'm into sort of we'll be working on NLP so that if I'm working with somebody, I've got a really nice environment around me that they can see and making it look all fancy. Anyway, my husband interpreted that as I would love a great big map of the UK,
I
which I
love
now have behind me. This isn't a Zoom background.
it.
And you know, there was probably a time where I'd probably have gone, what a crap present. But actually, do you know what? I just paused and laughed and thought, it's actually a really creative present. It isn't what I wanted. And I have actually had to broach with him since that maybe the map of the world needs to find somewhere else to go, but I'm not quite sure about. But you know, it was just actually, it's a really lovely thought. And he was being really thoughtful. And that's in his mind was he was doing something really kind, which he was doing, but it just maybe wasn't quite what I wanted at the
I
time.
love that. I think I know, and we've talked about this in the training, and it's almost like the perfect gift because it illustrates so much about what we learn on NLP, that everybody's internal map is
Yeah.
different and we all interpret things differently. And your thought about having a map was very different to what your husband's perception and thoughts were about having a map, and how communication can so easily break down because what we're thinking and what we mean by something can be so different to what somebody else thinks and means by something. So I think it is a perfect example of exactly what you've been learning on NLP, in how we're all different, and the fact that it's a map, because we have our map of the world.
Yeah.
Internally. It's just brilliant. I absolutely love that story, and I'm so glad you shared it with us. And I definitely think it needs to stay there and go out of place so that you can share that story with your clients.
Yeah, it is a funny story, but
It
yeah.
is, yeah.
So really, so it's just really listening to people's language, and I find a lot of the work that we've done on the meta model, etc., and just like really listening to language and understanding what the language people are using, but maybe part of it's obviously being really careful as well that you're not offering advice where it's unwanted. So sort of doing it in maybe sometimes a subconscious way, or if they do want something, say, do you know what, would you like to chat about this, and we could talk about it. So really that's where it's been going into my own life, and so working with the kids and things that would normally wind me up, maybe sometimes I'm a lot more tolerant of, and just really thinking, do you know what, you do have a choice. You could either let something really piss you off, excuse my language, or you can just let it ride and just say, do you know what's the worst thing? I mean, this week we've had huge car bills, enormous car bills. And so my husband was saying to me, oh, this is going to cost £1,000. I'm like, it's still cheaper than buying a brand new car. So let's just look on the positive side.
Reframe. Absolutely.
It is what it is at the end of the day. So it was someone actually turned around to me and said, well, isn't that just giving up? But no, it's not. It's actually controlling my emotions and actually thinking, I don't want to spoil the rest of my day by worrying about something that's happened and there's nothing I can do about it. I've had to spend that amount of money in the car. That's fine. So there's just things like that I've just found that I'm far more laid back. I'm not perfect. There's still things that being blocked in by my neighbour's delivery people this week, where I lost it a little bit and I was just about to apologise to him and got a massive bouquet of flowers and then felt really, really guilty and had to go back on his door and say, really, it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't upset with you, I was upset with them. But those type of things still happen, but in the majority of them, I'm finding that I'm just less stressed and more confident in myself, and sort of finding different ways. And actually I went back and reflected over the delivery man. It was like, well, how could I have got out of this situation? I should have used my NLP at the time. I should have thought, actually, do you know what, I was trying to get to my daughter who was with her friends who were going to a dentist appointment at 1 o'clock and panicking that they were going to miss their dentist appointment. Actually, it wasn't a big deal. They could have just taken her to the dentist appointment with them, and just things like that. You know, it's actually just makes you sort of think, afterwards, sometimes you just need to take that breath, think about the situation before you go into panic mode, and so
And
it's not perfect, but you know, I'm finding more and more that I'm just living and breathing NLP. So
I think
that's quite exciting.
you've said as well there, Jayne, some really key things and some significant teachings, I suppose, of NLP. So one, you talked about choice, and you said, realizing now that you have got choice about how you respond to things, you've got choice about how you interpret those situations. And we talk, don't we, in NLP, we're not here to be perfect. What we're here to do is to learn, to grow, to reflect, to take that time to give ourselves feedback about perhaps how we could have done things in a different way, and if we were to do it again, what might we do differently, and all the things that you've said. So I think there's some real key elements there of NLP around having choice, around taking that moment to pause and check in with yourself and notice what's going on for you. You said that you feel calmer and you're not as stressed and maybe reactive to things. All of that, I feel, as as your NLP trainer, I feel is really significant in what NLP can do for people's lives. It gives you that time, that moment, that space, if you like, to calibrate yourself and to say, actually, I can do this in a different way if I want to. I don't have to react in the same way. I don't have to be that, stressed person. So I love all of that, Jayne, because that to me is, like you've just said, living and breathing NLP. It's becoming it, because it's not just a load of techniques. And the techniques in NLP are absolutely brilliant, as you know. They are life-changing, they're transformative, they are, brilliant to support you in changing things in your life. But it's not just about that. It's more about becoming who you want to be every single day by, like you've just said, having choice, being more mindful really about your thoughts, your feelings, and your reactions. So I love everything that you've just said there, and you are, as your trainer, you're demonstrating all of that in the way that you are growing in yourself, and I can't wait to see how you take it out into the world. Have you thought, Jayne, about how you might want to use it? And I mean, I know obviously you're in, or you have been in, the sort of corporate world, and looking at taking yourself more into the coaching side of things. Have you thought about how you're going to use it? What sort of clients you'd like to work with, and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So obviously I work in marketing, and one of the things I found is there's a lot of synergies between the language of NLP that we actually use it in marketing all the time anyway. So there's lots of things of actually, when we're producing promotional materials, you're really trying to get inside someone's head and understand what they're thinking. And it's like a very curious career to be in that. And you're trying to actually, people really to understand the key selling points of your product, you're actually using NLP anyway, because you need to understand the people, and B, you need to understand what they really want, what they really need, and then translate that into, it's all about communication. It's all about that communication that makes them understand, and you can liaise with them, and they can understand what your product is providing to them and the value it brings. So it's really interesting that there was that use anyway, because I have to honestly say, when I first started on the NLP course, it was literally this looks really interesting. I mean, you know how I met you? I just met you and I was like, oh, this sounds really fabulous. A lot of it started to resonate and make sense. I used to think, do you know what? I need some of this in my life. And I hadn't really thought how I was going to use it going forwards. But there's that synergy with how it works anyway, with being in the corporate world. And when you're in that world, you're dealing with people all the time. So it's making you more patient. And when you think about when you're working in these types, it's the people, those type of people that you really aspire to, the people that like keep their cool, that are patient, that still make the decisions. And, I think, and when you go back to the whole mBIT, if let's talk about mBIT, I'm going to quote you, and you're going to have to correct me on this, but it all went around down to studying people, and the people that were really in these like positions that were considered wise and are really successful in their roles had that combination of that decisions coming from your head brain, your heart brain, and your gut. So really combining all of those together. So I think that's what really started to sort of bring me into this and think, do you know what, there's definitely something in there, because those people tend to be, not always, but most of the time, those are the people that are in sort of senior management roles, where you look up to them and you aspire to those type of people, and they're the people that you want, that have that sort of, you can feel their heart, you can feel that they make those decisions, that they're not just headstrong, they're making them from sort of from more than one place.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting for me, and for me to actually progress my career, to have that, and to have that, be able to make those wise choices, not just realize I've got choice, but be able to make wise choices. And I think I have made wise choices, but I think really to build on that and to get that confidence back, that actually sometimes I often say I am the sort of person that will say it's a gut feeling or it's a heart feeling, and to actually say actually those feelings are valid. It isn't all just from the head. It is a combination of all three. So I think that's one of the first things. And secondly, because I'm sort of at a point in my career as well where I don't just want to be doing as such, that I want to be coaching people. And I think from a coaching point of view, when you're working with people, a lot of the time people do procrastinate and they don't make decisions. And it's actually helping to work with them, building language that will help them to move forwards, to keep them moving. So the combination of mBIT and NLP together, I think really works. And it's also helped me with confidence in my business, actually promoting myself more recently as well, having the confidence to go for new contracts where I'm sort of one of these, I would really worry so much about what the outcome would be, and that small doubt that maybe it wouldn't work out. But actually thinking, actually, do you know, I'm a really ethical person. If I'm making this clear from the start what my thoughts are on a project, then instead of just shying clear of it from the start, just thinking, oh no, I don't even want to just discuss it, because what if it goes wrong, and having those sort of thoughts, actually being a bit more braver and putting myself out there and saying, no, I can run this project, but I'm going to be totally honest with you along the way, whether I think this is going to be a success or not. So yeah, so there's just huge potential. And you know, and even maybe I'm thinking sort of ahead for maybe when I want to move out of pharma, give me something more to be able to move into different areas to provide that type of coaching. And I've really enjoyed just working on the practice. I've worked with a lot of ex-colleagues and friends, and even that I use my NLP to set that up, because it was quite daunting to go out there and practice, because and Sarah, you'll know this, at the beginning there's lots of people that were already coaching in some format, and I was just sitting there going, I'm not coaching in any format at all. I'm working marketing. And so that confidence to actually go out there and ask people to let me practice with them. So in the end, I went and used Calendly and just set up spaces and put myself out there and said, look, I'm practicing. I've got some techniques that I need some people to help me with. So with my practicing, would anyone like to help? And loads of people just booked themselves in on Calendly, because I started to panic thinking, well, when am I going to get the time? And what if people don't really want to practice, and if they're just being nice? And actually, if I do it this way, they can just go and book themselves in, and then I know they're really sincere about it. So again, I used NLP in that way. So it's endless.
You've been amazing with that, Jay. You really, you know, and like you say, so there are, you know, on your course, there are lots of different people, and there are already a couple of certified coaches on there. And I think that was one of your things, like, oh my gosh, I'm not a coach. But actually, you are the person who took the initiative, did the courageous action, and got, I think, people booked in for practice before anybody else. So I think that was your mBIT was kind of kicking in there, your gut brain into action. And doing the brave thing and the courageous thing. So you've done amazing with it. And remember, you know, we talk about this on your NLP practitioner. Yes, there is an element of NLP coaching, and there are people on the course who are going to use NLP to, you know, coach, because they've already got maybe a coaching qualification, or they're going to bring NLP into it. But actually, NLP is so much more than coaching, isn't it? It's all around that communication. It's about your own personal growth. Like you've said, using it in marketing for sales, and talking and communicating effectively with your clients and your customers, and sharing with them how your product can support them. All of that is NLP. And I love how on any NLP cohort, there's always a variety of people using it in different ways, which is fabulous. Okay, Jayne, we're going to bring it to an end. So thank you so much for coming and having a little conversation. You're still on the practitioner, so we've got a couple of weekends yet to go, haven't we? So really excited to watch your journey unfold some more. So thanks so much, Jayne, for joining me, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.